I was supposed to have a lecture now, but when I heard there's one young Franciscan, how he thrilled young people recently, just a few days ago, he completely thrilled them about with his speech of divine mercy. Then I said it's better that he speaks rather than I speak. The theme this year is be merciful as your Father is merciful. So we would like to hear Father Antonio Shakota in his lecture on divine mercy. Father Antonio is chaplain in Mostar Franciscan Church. He's a young chaplain. He was studying in Jerusalem. He knows the situation quite well. Tony, please come. All is set.
Hvaljeni su si Marija.
Praise be Jesus and Mary.
Sempre sia lodata, eccoci. Bravi. Sve vas od srca pozdravljam. Ovo je
I'm greeting you all from the depth of my heart. This is the opportunity that came suddenly. I wasn't expecting this on Saturday. In this building, I had lecture on the National Seminar of Franciscan Youth of Bosnia-Herzegovina. The theme was mercy. So as Father Marinko said, would I be able to repeat this today on Wednesday? Why not? I do not need to prepare anything additionally. So there won't be any waste, but perhaps I can receive something from you. Of course, I feel uncomfortable. This is the first time to speak at this place on such occasion. And I'm certain that each one of you came to Medjugorje with a goal. And so, when you confront the goals that you have with the theme of God's mercy, I believe that we do not have to adopt that speech at all. The speech on God's mercy, I would not adopt it to your special circumstances. I will speak in a general way about the theme of God's mercy. And I believe that each one of you, when you go back to your homes, you can bring to life the speech on God's mercy in your everyday life. I hope. What I will share with you today is my personal journey, my personal seeking of God's grace, and what I personally in my life need to face in this year. Many would say, and many would express certain enthusiasm with this theme, with this year. But also, many faithful do not know exactly what is that the year of God's mercy is about. What is that is concrete, that is visible, that this year gives us? Someone would say, okay, you can do spiritual and physical deeds, acts of mercy. Perhaps there are some obligations that we could call there more like obligations rather than act of mercy. If it is mercy, why is it mercy? Sometimes it can seem to us that mercy is something abstract, that it refers to some kind of a moment in my life and not something that is permanently all around my life and every day of every single person and of every single community. Grace in the sense of some kind of hugging or tapping on the shoulder that is just like a moment of my life, not something permanent. And so I started seeking for the meaning. And where is that and how am I supposed to make my year of mercy valid. 3 years ago, when I went to study to Holy Land, I had a problem, and I recalled that when the year of grace began, there is one psalm, 136th psalm, 136th psalm that Jews sing during the Passover. And that psalm repeats one same refrain all the time. In Croatian language, we say, give thanks in English to Yahweh, for He is good, for His faithful love endures forever. Give thanks to God, But I went to Jerusalem and I prayed the liturgy of hours in Italian language. And so, when I'm praying in Italian, it is something like His mercy is eternal, lasts forever. That would be the translation. So what was I supposed to do with that? I had some kind of, this is like a really professional default, that in my limited abilities to explain the Holy Scripture, sometimes I like to go to original. I know that in Hebrew, love, the word for love is ahava. So I wanted to see whether there is that word, ahava, in the translation, and I went to original. No, it wasn't. Is it rachamim? No. So which was the word? The word was hesed. There is a word in Hebrew. It's hesed. What would be hesed? Hesed is mentioned at many places in the Old Testament. And hesed is interpreted in various ways. Some people are interpreting it as love. At other places it is gentleness. Prophet Hosea says sometimes love, sometimes gentleness, kindness, goodness, tenderness, even devotion. A similar root we can find in religious group of Jesus' time, Esseni, which is can be derived from Hebrew, Hasid. It means the one who is devoted. So there are one kind of like million of various types, but in all of that, there is something that is quite constant. It is God. And so, if I want to understand in my fullness the expression hesed, then I need to go to the Old Testament. I need to see what is that hesed is marking when God is actually the one who stands behind that word. And whenever we have that word, along with the name of the Lord, with Yahweh, it is about covenant that God made with people. Each time it is about a covenant, faithfulness, because God always is faithful and remains faithful. God cannot deny Himself. It is each time. So, if the faithful is now to start thinking a bit more and to place himself in the context of mercy, in the context of love, actually the starting point should always be faithfulness. Why? Why is that important? Love so very often is about emotions. What is love about? Someone expressed grace and mercy. What is it about? In order for me to know how to love, In order for me to know how to express mercy, there is a prerequisite that is called faithfulness. If I was to live according to God's covenant that He made with men, if I desire to be the part of that covenant, then I'm called to express my own faithfulness in all fragility that I have within me, but it is also faithfulness of our mutual relationships. If I desire to be a friend to someone, if I desire to be in a relationship with someone, to be friends with someone, then I am obliged to be faithful. There's no interest there. There's no subduing myself, my friendship to my demands, to my desires, and to everything else that we will put in the basket of selfishness. Also, it is chastity, it is devotion. All those human feelings, parts of human life, are about hesed, about mercy, about faithfulness, tenderness. There we have the key of understanding of my mercy, expression of my great mercy. That's one expression. The other expression that is always translated in the Old Testament from the Hebrew original. It's always mercy. And that is the expression that I already mentioned. It's called the Rachamim. Why is it important that I mention the original when none of us here speaks Hebrew? We see that there are some people who know this Holy Scripture. They're a bit privileged than we are. And we Franciscans are and regular, common faithful. There is one thing that we should know. Jew of Semite, he was always using the word. He always uses the word and terms that could be touched, that could be described. With a word, we describe the person or reality that we are facing. So when this faithful Jew encountered the term of mercy, of grace, when he received the task to take that reality and to turn it into the word, what did he do? He placed the word that marks mother's womb, which is Rechem, mother's womb, and he put that word into plural, which brings to Rachamim, the word that the priest mentioned. We need to be aware of one thing. Bible, Holy Scripture, is the book of experiences. It is a book of experiences. It speaks of encounter of one concrete God and one concrete man who encountered Jesus. So that encounter could be defined with certain words, with certain letters. And so that faithful, pious Jew, he wanted to describe the grace of God by taking the word mother's womb in plural. What is that womb? I have a privilege that when I go around my stomach, I'm able to actually to see and to experience, regardless of the fact that I am man. But at this place, it's where our mothers can help us. Church is a mother, and exactly through this expression, we can witness motherly face of the church. Imagine a mother, and I'm sure there are many mothers here. When the child for the first time knocks, when the child for the first time leaps in her womb, that mother is rejoicing. That mother, her heart is really, really excited about it. She can feel the baby and what happens. Afterwards, mother calls father, she calls her husband. She says, come, come, place your hand here. Become the part of this joy. And in the moment when the family becomes part of that joy, love is just spread. Love is just multiplied. Love, Rachamim, is placing the communion. It is communion about something that is most fragile, most innocent, purest person of a child in mother's womb. And if we were to go a bit further, when we are in mother's womb, we are protected. When we are in mother's womb, we are safe. When we are in mother's womb, we are the subject of joy. And if Rachamim is something that we give to God, then faithful should always be aware that God rejoices about to us. The God rejoices to each time we knock at His door. Knock and the door will be opened. But God desires you so much that you are so loved and desired by God, because He is aware that our fatherhood and motherhood are so fragile. That is why He will say through His prophet Isaiah, can a woman forget her baby at the breast? Can she feel no pity for the child she has borne? Even if these were to forget, I shall not forget you. So let's go a bit to the New Testament. Greeks, if the New Testament was written in Greek, and also a version of the Old Testament was written in Greek, and the expression of grace was for mercy was translated as the word eleos, and usually in the New Testament it refers to compassion. In Latin, compassio, misericordia, to give to the miserable one, heart, to be compassionate, to be along with someone, to suffer with him. So we have many examples. Jesus said, Jesus was touched. Something touched him. But there is something else, something that is quite important as well when it comes to Jesus' speech with people, because with Jesus the speech was not just expressed in words but with deeds, with acts, and most of all with his gaze. Pope Francis, he spoke about that in his book God's Name is Mercy, especially referring to Matthew. How Matthew was the one who was spotted by Jesus, and he said he had pity on him. And Holy Father took that theme, and in many places we find those words where evangelists describe the way Jesus was acting. So Jesus saw apostles, Jesus saw this one. Jesus constantly sees and spots someone. He also saw Matthew. And I'm convinced, I'm assured that this gaze towards Matthew is one of the basic keys for understanding of the year that we have here in front of us, the year of mercy. I'm convinced that one thing, if now among us Jesus was to come, if among us there was someone who lived like Matthew lived, and if Jesus would choose that person to be his disciple, many of us would be terrified. Matthew was a man who belonged to his people, but at the same time he was the one who betrayed his people. He was tax collector, he worked in tax office, he was the one who was collecting taxes. But what was he doing? As he worked for Romans, he was giving Romans what they were asking for. But if Romans were asking for 100 euros, he was collecting from his people 150 euros. 100 to Romans, 50 for himself. To have such men in our vicinity is quite dangerous. Because you don't have trust. If you do not have trust, then you cannot build any kind of relationship. But Jesus has chosen him. What is that Jesus saw within him? What is that Jesus saw in Matthew? Someone would say that our sins, our deeds, our manifests, all of that is a consequence of something that lies within us. And in the moment when I discover why am I doing something in my life, that is not going to be as my own justification. It is going to be for me to change my life. We are all doing something sometimes which is a consequence of being conditioned with something. We do something that we cannot connect and relate and associate with ourselves. Was that what Jesus saw in Matthew? Was Matthew a victim of how he was tied, how he was narrowed, close-minded of his wounds, of something that he experienced? And the job and the profession he had, the fact that he was tax collector, was just a defense system for him in relationship and in regards to some kind of imaginative enemies that he had around himself. It's something that takes place so often in our lives. When we act and when we function out of our wound as a product of our wounds, of what determined us. What is it that Jesus saw in Matthew? That Matthew was prepared to leave everything to follow Jesus. Let's move a step forward. So you have in Luke's Gospel, 7th chapter, you have the encounter between Jesus and Simon. Simon, who was Pharisee, Jesus was in Simon's house. And so they were in the house. And when Simon said, if this man was really a prophet, he would have known who this woman is. So then Jesus says something, speaks something, and then something happens. Jesus turned to the woman, said to Simon. So Jesus was looking at this woman into her eyes. He was not looking at Simon, the tax collector. He was his Pharisee. He was back. He was looking at the woman. He said to her, he didn't look at Simon. He was looking at the woman. But he speaks to Simon. That's very interesting. Simon, in his righteousness, in his self-sufficiency, in his close-mindedness, he didn't have that gaze of Jesus. What does it mean not to have the gaze of Jesus? Simon Peter, when he betrayed Jesus, he was in that little room, and Jesus was taken from the hall of the chief priest. And Luke, evangelist, only Luke explains this. When Jesus saw Peter, Peter afterwards remembered what he did, and he went outside and wept bitterly. It was gazes, two gazes that encountered. What did Simon Peter see in the eyes of Jesus Christ? He saw forgiveness. He saw that that gaze was not condemning him. I would dare to say that that moment was essential, key in the life of Simon Peter. That after that, he experienced fundamental conversion because he was able to see the gaze that did not condemn him. What happens with our gazes? What happens with our communities? Why do I say community? In the context of Matthew, of his calling, we can make an exam of consciousness about our communities. Are our communities some kind of elite societies, or our communities are opened? Holy Father Francis would say, it would be maybe open hospitals in the fields. I did not come here to call the righteousness but sinners. I didn't come for those who are upright, but for those who are sinners. We all encounter people who need affection, who need sincere gaze, sincere encounter, the encounter that changes. And so very often we do not have idea about people. We don't have a clue about people that we encounter. Who are people who are standing in front of us? Who is this person that speaks to me? Can you imagine if the confessioner in the confessional box, if he would be focused only exactly and exclusively on sins and not on that sinner who is in front of him? There would be bombs all around, exploding. None of the people would leave confessional box healed. Holy Father Francis said at one place, when he was a parish priest in Argentina, there was a woman who was coming to his office. She was seeking for help. She was poor, and in order for her to survive, she was widow. She engaged herself in prostitution. Holy Fathers, then at that time as parish priest, he always called her lady. After a while, this woman came to the parish office to thank him. But she did not thank because of the help that she received, because of the money that Holy Father, whom we have today, was giving her. She came to thank. Because Holy Father, despite the misery that she had in her own life, despite the fact that she was really a sinner in her life, he was calling her a lady. Because there is something that is called the dignity of a human person. And that is always something that needs to be valuable. It is something that is above all other things that make us what we are in our lives. Therefore, in this year of grace, of mercy, let us indeed allow that Lord may heal our gazes. The way we look, that our eyes are full of purity, that in our gazes there are no more prejudice, that in our gazes we no longer have judgment and condemnation, that our gazes are not gazes from above, that our gazes are not gazes of elite faithful, of faithful who praises and boasts with himself. I think that many did not understand. Maybe it was me who did not understand the words of Holy Father Francis when he came to prison and when he asked himself, how come that they are here and not me? People were terrified. I remember this. We gathered, we read newspaper, we all were terrified with that. How can Holy Father say this? But behind those words that are terrifying at first, there is something that is so full of life. Something so full of life that each one of us need to refer to. And that is that God had pity on me first. In the moment when I am facing with the other, with his sinfulness, with something that I cannot understand, I'm called to remember that God had pity on me first. What is the mercy about? Each one of us can witness that in the original way. Maybe some of us did not confess for 20, 30, 40 years. Then Lord had pity on us. Maybe for someone the Lord had pity on him in his 50th year of his life and he did not allow him to fall down. Little Therese, Jesus wrote about that saint who never agreed with a speech how big sinners become the biggest saints. How the biggest saints are those who experience the very bottom in their lives. Little Therese of Child Jesus would say, I need to thank God because God is in my life. He is the stone that many have trampled on, and He removed that from my childhood. It was then when God expressed me grace. That therefore let us recall that each time. You know the scene from Holy Father Francis' life when he stole crucifix from his confessioner, the one who died when Holy Father was young priest. It was men where he confessed many times, and he was always giving people who were in confessionals to kiss the crucifix. And so imagine there was always like something that is buried with each priest, like a crucifix or rosary. No one ever dared to touch that, and it was Holy Father who took that crucifix. And what did he say for the crucifix? He said, each time when I think something bad about someone, I take the crucifix and I kiss it. For me, it is so wonderful. It is amazing because I'm assured that each one of us, at least once, we were in a trap of prejudice. I thought something about someone, and at the end, it turned out that it wasn't even close to that. Later on, it was evident that a person that once I condemned in my life, that there is a big child in that person. Child who needs God's rachamim, God's affection, God's protection, God's safety. Therefore, we always need to go back to rachamim and to chesed. It is faithfulness that friendships we have are always faithfulness of true friendships, of true faithfulness. And finally, I will just mention something briefly about confession. Confession that is quite important in this year of grace, of mercy. And we people are writing about this a lot. And one of the evangelic extracts that
citirati
we love to quote
o izgubljenom
is
sinu.
the parable of the prodigal son.
Po mom nekom skromnom mišljenju.
According to my opinion,
Redak 16.
it is line 16 that I will quote now.
Razumijevanje
It is a key for understanding of conversion of this younger son, prodigal son. And we need to take that into consideration this year. For it is something for our personal life, it is for the life in general. It is for how we will interpret freedom
Šta kaže taj?
within ourselves. What does this say? It
Želio
says
se nasititi rogačima što su ih jele
that
svinje,
the younger son would willingly have filled
ali mu ih
himself
nije.
with the husks the pigs were eating,
Želio se nasititi
but no one would let him have them.
jele svinje
He wanted to eat the husks the pigs were eating,
i odlomak
but
nastane.
no one
Kaže,
would give them
došavši
to him.
on je u
And
tom
then
trenutku došao
the next line is, and then he realized. What did he understand?
shvatio je u čemu se
He understood what is the life about.
u čemu se
He understood what is the freedom about.
Netko je naslovio
Someone made the title of that parable as
slobodu.
when
Očeve kuće
one departs into the freedom
u slobodu.
from father's house, and then until he returns into the freedom in father's
S
house.
strane imamo slobodu
On one hand side, we have freedom
odabira,
in the light of choices, in the light of my privacy,
čisto
in the light of my,
u nas u Hercegovini.
here in Herzegovina we say, something private,
Čisto osobno
something that is
moj
really
život,
just mine,
moj odabir.
my life, my choice.
Tako često to
So very often in the last few years we hear that.
Nisam birao ime, nisam birao
I did not choose my name, I did not choose my surname, I did not choose nationality.
Zato ću ja u jednom trenutku svog života to
That is why I, in the moment of my life, will choose all this. Let the parents aside, my friends, my brothers. That doesn't mean anything for me. When I become full-aged, I will choose all that for myself.
To je nekako slika ove slobode.
That is the image of this freedom outside the house.
Da mi odabir ne može nitko oduzeti.
Of course, my choice, no one can take that away.
Da mi je Bog dao tu temeljnu slobodu odabira.
And of course that God gave me basic choice that I can choose Him freely, not a slave.
Onog trenutka kad je on
But in the moment when he experienced among the pigs that no one would give him even husks the pigs ate, he understood something else.
shvatio je
He
da je
understood
Božoj slobodi postao rob.
that through that freedom he became slave.
Može živjeti sam od sebe.
He cannot live by himself.
Da toj slobodi jednom dođe kraj.
That freedom is going to come to its
S
end.
druge strane sjevnulo mu je
And on the other hand side,
život dar.
he had stroke
Nitko
that
mogao
God's gift no one was able to give him.
Život je dar
Life is a gift.
koja nije ropstvo.
It is addiction that is not slavery.
Čine utrobe,
It is something, it's not like addiction, but it is dependency. It is when you depend on mother's womb. It is dependency that I grow upon.
kojoj se razvija
I'm developed in that because someone wished good for me.
ostvarivanja sebe
When I accomplish myself in the society with others
samo sa samim sobom.
and not just with myself.
I to se savršeno uklapa sa vjerom u
And that
presvetog
perfectly fits into the faith of the Most Holy Trinity.
kojoj biti
If God,
a jest
in His essence, is relationship, and He is, and we were created at the image and likeness of God,
onda je naš život od nas.
then our life is relationship.
U tome
And in that, everything is either there or it falls down.
I druga stvar,
The other thing,
sad se sjetimo svega ovoga što smo govorili o Božjem
we can recall everything that we spoke about, God's mercy. In the 20th line it said that that younger son, he went towards his father, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him. He was moved to pity. He ran to him. He clasped him in his arms and he kissed him. And it ends, and they began to celebrate.
Stadoše se veseli.
They began to celebrate.
U svojoj knjizi Božje ime milosrđe kaže
Holy Father in his book, God's Name is Mercy, he says that confessional is not like a dry cleaning place, it is a celebration.
kemijska čistionica u odnosu na ono sve što smo do sad govorili.
It's dry cleanings in regards to everything we spoke about. It doesn't mean that someone puts in a product and goes out. The reality of sin is much deeper. The reality of sin is not just about me. It is not something private.
Ja kada griješim,
When I am sinning, my sin affects
zajednicu u kojoj živim.
community where I live.
I taj grijeh opterećuje zajednicu.
That sin is burdening the community where I live.
Grijeh ima društvenu dimenziju.
Sin has a spiritual dimension.
Što i obraćenje ima društvenu dimenziju.
Yes, conversion has a spiritual dimension.
Stadoše se veseli.
They need to celebrate. They started to celebrate.
Papa navodi u svom dijelu primjer svetog Ignacija koji
Holy Father mentions the example of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, who was, before conversion, there was no priest who would confess him, and so he entrusted his sins, to the first person that he happened to find. He was like a young warrior. In the New Testament, we will find words, confess sins to one another. It is not something that we do apart from the sacrament, so people would not understand, okay, I can be good and not go to Sunday Holy Mass. I do not need to do anything which was doing in order for me to be good. No, no, no. We will not do anything like that, of course. But I need to understand that sin has spiritual dimension, as conversion has spiritual dimension. What does that mean for me concretely? When I go to confession, I need to be aware. As much as the celebration of the Holy Mass is celebration of the community, and so in the words, priest, after the words of the priest, go into peace, that celebration continues, goes on. The grace that I received, I carry that grace. If I became a tabernacle of God by receiving the living God into my heart, then there's nothing else left for me. Our Lady, when she received living Jesus into her womb, she went to Saint Elizabeth. She walked from Nazareth to Ein Karem, 200 kilometers walk. Have I ever decided after confession, joy of confession, to share with someone? How many times have I prepared and experienced confession or perceived confession just as something for myself, burdened with my sins? Now I will rush to confessionals and God is going to forgive me my sins, so I would be again at the same place with myself. And it never occurred to me that the joy that I experienced in confessional should be shared with someone. And I began to celebrate. Is there a person in my life a person that needs encounter with grace.
Neću reći susret sa mnom.
I will not say the encounter with me, but the encounter with God through me.
Jer sam ja postao dionik Božijega praštanja.
Because I became the partaker of God's grace and God's mercy.
Mislim da je to vrlo važno.
I think that is very important.
Možda otići na piće s nekim.
Maybe to go and have a drink with someone after confession. To go for a walk. Maybe to organize some kind of a family meeting, encounter with neighbors, with persons that I know that they have difficulties in their lives. Perhaps to make that day different than all other days. Why not?
Evo, previše vas gnjavim.
So perhaps I bothered you too much. I hope that the speech on God's mercy we will not understand in a strict way, that this year we will not be afraid. Many are saying, what is this year about? I'm assured that this year is just giving us and providing us answers, just like that. And once it finishes, that it's only going to begin. Many would say, we did not prepare well. We did not receive concrete instructions, concrete guidelines on what we are supposed to do. But in this year, certain encounters have taken place, important encounters for the whole mankind, for the whole church, for whole humanity. This year contributed to that. Many new programs that became a fruit of the year in which we live. Therefore, let us not be afraid of that. Let us allow God to speak to us in a concrete way, where to direct our gaze. So the grace that God had when He had pity on us, so we would be able to carry it furthermore into the concrete of our life and of our calling, to put that together, concreteness of our own life with God's mercy that obliges us. Thank you for attention. If you have any questions, I do not know whether that is common or not. Thank you. You see that I'm faithful. Am I faithful? Am I? I believed Father Slaven, that Father Tony is so good, that he spoke so well. Is that true? Tony, thank you from the depth of our hearts, for having spoken from the heart to the hearts, open hearts. And now we'll sing a song. We don't need any questions. We just need to get ready and prepared and start working and functioning. I think everything is clear. Thank you. This is a young priest. This is a young priest. Newly ordained priest for 2 years, and then we will have mature priest, a bit older than he is. I will not say to you who he is, so we'll have a song now. Thank you.